Will please come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bertschiger, Beyer, Boquist, Burdick, DeBoer, Dembrow, Devlin, Ferrioli, Frederick, Gelser, Gerard, Hansel, Haas, Johnson, Knope, Cruz, Linthicum, Manning, Monis Anderson, Monroe, Olson, Brzezinski, Riley, Roblin, Steiner Hayward, Taylor, Thatcher, Thompson, Winters, President Courtney.
He's here. Being present, we will post the colors, and Senator Lou Frederick will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's invocation, Bishop Liam Carey, Catholic Diocese of Baker.
Lord our God, maker of heaven and earth, you number all the stars and call each of them by name. Yet you are near to all who call upon you, and you raise up all who are bowed down. Listen to us, we pray, as we stand before you this day. Open wide your hand in blessing on the members of this lawmaking assembly as they work for the common good of the state of Oregon. From the storeroom of your goodness, O God, you bring forth the new and the old, for with you all things are possible. Give these legislators patience to seek and wisdom to find the best ways possible to meet the challenges before them. Challenges of living and dying, challenges of protecting and preserving, challenges of sheltering and schooling, challenges of housing and healing, challenges of working and welcoming. With you, all things are possible, O God. You protect the stranger, you sustain the orphan and the widow, you thwart the way of the wicked. Help these public servants to make possible a better life for the citizens of Oregon. Amen.
Thank you, Senator Lou Frederick, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Your Excellency, Bishop Liam Carey, for your invocation here today. Courtesies, Senator James Manning, Jr., please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today I have with me a very special young man. His name is Garrett Eason. Garrett is 11 and currently in the 5th grade at McCormick Elementary School. Garrett is a very, very smart young man. Garrett, he wants to play, currently he plays baseball for Churchill Babe Ruth League and hopes to be a catcher this season. His dreams is to be drafted to the St. Louis Cardinals, baseball Cardinals that is, but if not, Garrett is okay with either being an engineer, architect, or even a police officer. And who knows, he may one day be a part of the politics or elected office. He is so excited and really appreciates the Senate and all the senators that took time to talk with him. And again, please extend warm courtesy to Garrett. Thank you.
Garrett, glad you're here, and hope you have a good day. The catcher position, in my opinion, is the most important pitcher of all in all of baseball and one of the most powerful positions in all of sports. So if you can be that, I'll be jealous. I never got to be a catcher. So good luck into your career goals, and you're sitting next to a great gentleman. So I hope you have a great day. Recognize Senator Floyd Brzezinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I ask that we have Senate courtesies given to my intern for the month, Tamaria Gavasilia is from the country of Georgia. She is here under the State Department's Professional Fellows Program. Our office has hosted numerous individuals through this, and she's here to work with us over the next month. Her background and her current title is Chief Specialist and Lawyer for the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources Protection in Georgia. And her duties include working within the agency and the department, working with individuals in drafting different rules as well as laws and working with their parliament. She will be here working in our office. This is our first opportunity to be in the United States of America. She did start off in Washington, D.C., where all of the fellows began, and she will be with us, as I said, for the next month. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tamara. Thank you for joining Senator Brzezinski's office and helping him out and helping us out. Welcome to the great state of Oregon. I've never been to your country of Georgia. Maybe one day I will, but it's an honor and privilege that you would come join us and be a part of us, be a part of the good senator's staff. Thank you. Recognize Senator Chuck Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, please extend warm courtesies to a friend of mine again, Steve Bates from Boring, Oregon. He is here today representing the Evans family on the SCR 19. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Welcome. Extend the courtesies to you. Hope you have a great day. And you're sitting beside a fine gentleman, so thank you for being part of our testimonies that we're about to do today. Senator Ted Ferrioli, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, when I contemplated doing a courtesy this morning, it was essentially to thank the staff of Senator Herman Bertschiger, who responded to his emergency in the way that we hope all of our staff would do. They were everywhere. They tracked his bills, they tracked his committees, they kept in constant contact with us and him. I'm very gratified by that, and I wanted to speak their names. That's Michael Sellers, Andrew Mittendorf, Daniil Sellers, Jared Osran, and then interns Santiago Nieto, Patrick Conroy, and Ashley Evans. And Mr. President, I don't expect you to remember all those names in a string, but when I got up to give this courtesy request, I thought about all the members who traveled to the ceremony honoring Lita K. Bertschiger's life. Most of us met Lita for the first time there and learned that she was a person worth knowing. Mr. President, it was gratifying to see the number of members who made the trip. And I know when Senator Bertschiger comes back, he'll want to thank you personally. But Mr. President, you and other members attended what I think is one of the most healing, most gratifying services I've ever attended. So, Mr. President, the courtesies today are requested for Herman's staff, all of the folks who attended her services, Lita K. Bertschiger's services, and particularly Pastor David Johnson, who I thought just did a remarkable job of bringing us all together for that moment of healing. A lot of courtesies, Mr. President, very important. Thank you for extending those courtesies. I know you have strong feelings about this as well.
Thank you, Senator Ferrioli, your very kind words. I called Senator Herman Bertschiger Jr. this morning, and I can assure you that everything that Senator Ferrioli said is correct. What the Senate did, you did, on Saturday really helped him. And he's on his way here today. Right as I speak, he is on his way because he wants to be here. And the performance, your presence, and what you did is extraordinary. And I think Senator Ferrioli described the service remarkably well. His remarks about we got to know Lita for the first time, you're right. And I commented, I said, you know, Herman, your wife is an incredible country western singer, and among other things. So I have to say it was an overwhelming participation by the Senate, and it couldn't have come at a better time, and it just really helped him and his family, and I'm sure they will remember it forever. And he sounded strong this morning. He sounded strong, and you helped make that possible. So he'll be with us tomorrow. Thank you, Senator Ferrioli, for so eloquently describing what happened over the weekend and how important it was. Remonstrances? Recognize Senator Kim Thatcher.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on the floor today to raise a question that many of my constituents have been asking, and I'm sure many of yours are also, and that is the question of what are we doing with the budget? We have the governor issuing executive orders when we have bills we could pass. We have legislative leadership proposing absolutely painful and devastating cuts to the poorest among us. We have a resurrection of Measure 97. This is something that the voters we all know, they said no to. And you know what else? We have record levels of spending. Record levels of spending, and it is still not enough. I would submit to you that government overspending has its victims also, and those victims are the hardworking Oregonians that sent us here. Those victims are the veterans who served our country with honor. These victims are seniors and kids. Members, we need to rein in overspending and craft a budget that is responsible and does not pay for an out-of-control, dare I say, union management agenda on the backs of hardworking Oregonians. Thank you.
Recognize Senator Jeff Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in light of the courtesy that Senator Ferrioli gave relative to the event the majority of us were at over the weekend, I thought it important also to recognize the fact that the Speaker of the House, as well as many House members, were there. The governor was there, the Secretary of State was there, and Congressman Walden was there. And I think it just points out, Mr. President, that when tragedy strikes our family, we act as a family in response to that, and we should be very proud of our ability to be there for our colleague.
Messages from the governor.
To the Honorable President of the Senate of the 78th Legislative Assembly, attached is a list of governor's appointments to state boards and commissions subject to Senate confirmation managed by ORS 171562 and ORS 171565. These appointments are submitted for your consideration and will be effective upon Senate confirmation. Sincerely, Kate Brown, Governor. Commission on Black Affairs, LaWanda Manning. L. Nicole Rowe. Oregon Criminal Justice Commission, Rodney Underhill. State Board of Direct Entry Midwifery, Kelsey Fisher. Sarah Taylor. State Board of Education, Charles Martinez. Oregon Educators Benefit Board, Sherry Moss Anderson. Robert Stewart. Employment Relations Boards, Lisa Umscheid. Oregon Government Ethics Commission, Daniel Mason. Charles Starr. Health Evidence Review Commission, Lisa Sutton. Higher Education Coordinating Commission, Larry Roper. Home Care Commission, Lee Gerard. Oregon State Hospital Advisory Board, Javon Shern and Robert Stone. Lane Transit District Board, Stephen Yett. Oregon Board of Licensed Professional Counselors and Therapists, Lindsay McGrath. Board of Medical Imaging, Melissa Downer Valdez. Joffrey Kopecki. Oregon Ocean Policy Advisory Council, Kevin Dunn. Richard Heap Jr., Robert Main. Oregon Board of Optometry, Renee Klein. Oregon Health Policy Board, David Bangsberg. John Santa. Oregon Health and Science University Board of Directors, Anato Bora. State Parks and Recreation Commission, Victoria Berger, Douglas Stewart, and Stephen Grasty. Oregon Patient Safety Commission Board of Directors, Keisha Norling, Daniel Ross, State Board of Pharmacy, Vicki Gawain, Shannon Larson, Board of Trustees, Portland State University, Joe Dozono, Gregory Hickley, Margaret Kirkpatrick, State Board of Psychologists Examiners, Patricia Borquist, Peter Grover, Public Employees with Benefit Board, Kimberly Hendricks, Board on Public Safety Standards and Training, Raymond Burr Jr., Casey Duncan, Kelly Dutra, William Gager, Jeffrey Herring, Greg Marler, John Teague, Dana Vitolins, Quality Education Commission, John Rexford, Judy Stiegler, Oregon Racing Commission, Diego Conde, Residential Facilities Advisory Committee, Joseph Lakem, Respiratory Therapist and Polysomnographic Technologist Licensing Board, Tony Garber, Oregon Retirement Savings Board, Edward Brewington, State Board of Examiners, State Speech Language Pathology and Audiology, Anna Sanger, Reed Gale Swanstrom, Oregon Tourism Commission, Nigel Francisco, Thomas Sukahara, Water Resources Commission, Robert Baumgartner, Bruce Korn, Eric Quemps, Commissioner Roman, Doris Cancel Torado.
Executive appointments are transmitted to the President's desk for referral. Message from the House.
Mr. President, the House has passed House Bill 2133, 2190, 3372, 5001, 5035, 2150, 2319, 2527, 2630, 2839, 2986, 3012, 3068, 3077, 3268, 3288, and 3423.
Reports from committees in accordance with SR 8.551, Committee Report Summary Number 109 was distributed to members April 27th, 110 was distributed April 28th, and 111 was distributed today. This information will be recorded in the Journal of the States Report and is so ordered. We're now on a proposition motion. Recognize Senator Jenny Burdick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to suspend the rules to allow special guests on the Senate floor under third reading of SCR 19.
Senator Burdick has asked for unanimous consent to suspend the rules to allow the special guest on the Senate floor to consider the third reading of SCR 19. To your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are people who are very interested in joining us for this concurrent resolution.
If there are no objections, it is so ordered. Recognize Senator Burdick, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that final consideration of SCR 19 be made a special order of business immediately.
Senator Burdick has moved that SCR 19 be made a special order of business immediately. To your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is very appropriate given the content of the resolution.
If there are no objections, this motion has carried. We will now proceed to the special order of business. The clerk will please read the resolution.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 19 recognizes and honors Corporal Jeremy M. Lovelace, Specialist 6, Norman Francis Evans, and Specialist 4, David Lynn Evans, for their service to their country.
I'll recognize Senator Lori Manis Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's always difficult, colleagues, to talk about and memorialize and honor our fallen veterans. Today, SCR 19 honors and recognizes three individuals that died during their service for our great nation. I will be talking about Jeremy Lovelace and the good senator from West Valley, Senator Boquist, will be talking about the Evans boys. Colleagues, sitting with me is Mike Lovelace, the father of Corporal Jeremy Lovelace. And he shared a lot of information with us during committee. And he said, his son has said he was put on earth to serve. He said, "Dad, I don't know what I want to be, but I know I'm here to help people." When he was in high school, Gresham High School, he was 1 year behind my daughter. He organized a coat drive to help those in need during cold winter months. He and a friend started a chapter of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes at Gresham High. Jeremy was all about the outdoors. Though he didn't hunt, he was a skilled marksman and outdoorsman. He was an instructor at a ropes course near Highway 26, which we hope to have the memorial sign located. His first job was an arborist, and then he took a high-rise window washing job. And his father asked him why, and because he is afraid of heights. And he said, "I am afraid of it, so it's time to face it." Jeremy married Melissa Vele in 2000, and their daughter Chloe was born in 2002. He joined the Army in 2004 and was assigned to the 172nd Stryker Brigade Combat Team as a combat medic. And as a medic, Jeremy was assigned to 10 separate platoons, very unusual. Typically, medics are assigned to only 1 or 2 platoons, but the staff sergeant that was responsible for the assignments was very impressed with Jeremy and referred to him as the go-to guy who could fix any situation. Jeremy always helped keep spirits up and was better with only 2 hours of sleep than most with 5. He had to show how committed he was to being a medic. He had been buying books online and had a whole slew of them. And he was buying that with his own money until the staff sergeant found out and said, "No, we can get you those books." Jeremy Lovelace was killed on Memorial Day, May 29th, 2006, when he was shot by enemy small arms fire during combat operations in Mosul, Iraq. Corporal Lovelace was riding outside his Stryker vehicle in a dangerous position that he often volunteered to take, one in which a medic would not normally be found during a mission, but that provided a better view as a lookout and often offered him the opportunity to toss candy to the Iraqi children as he passed by on patrol. After he died, Mike Lovelace, his father, went to the brigade homecoming at Fort Wainwright, Alaska. And I think we tend to forget the impact of one of their comrades dying. But Mr. Lovelace was so impressed by the men that his son had served with. He was a friend, a soldier, and an inspiration to many. His plane arrived in the wee hours of the morning, and a first sergeant was assigned to pick him up. And when he stepped into the airport, expecting to find one sleepy troop holding a sign with his name on it, he was instead greeted by a room full of Jeremy's Army comrades, barely a dry eye among them. Mr. Lovelace had not yet come to terms with his own grief, but had never considered the grief of his Army family. He was so moved by this unrestrained, heartfelt display of emotion and legitimate tears, and he learned so much about what they felt and knew about his son. One first sergeant with 15 years of experience told him that Jeremy was the finest medic with whom he'd ever served. Another one said, "We called him Doc." It was an honorary title that wasn't just tossed out casually, but had to be earned. One of Jeremy's sergeants said to him, "Here I was telling Jeremy what to do and giving him orders when I'm thinking this guy is twice the medic I will ever be and should be telling me what to do." Mr. Lovelace has a tattoo on his arm that is in memory of Jeremy. And one day his pastor noticed it and said he would have put all heart, all man. That was his son, all heart, all man. And I hope you will honor this man by voting for SCR 19. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Senator Montesanis, you're closing? No, excuse me.
Over here, Mr. President.
Oh, Senator Boquist, you're closing. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, the second half of the memorial here memorializes several fallen soldiers and actually a family, the Evans family. And they're from Klamath Falls. In fact, it honors 4 generations of those families. That makes them a 4-star family. 4-star family. Mr. Evans, which is James Earl Evans, served in the Air Force during World War II and the Korean War. That's way back when they still called it the Army Air Corps of the U.S. Army. His 2 sons, Specialist 6th Norman Evans, and his younger brother, Specialist 4, David Amos Evans of Klamath Falls, both served in the United States Army too. Norman was assigned to the 156th Aviation Company of the 244th Aviation Support Battalion in Vietnam. His brother David was a helicopter guy too. This is back when helicopters were first being used in Vietnam. And he served in the 117th Helicopter Assault Company of the 214th Combat Aviation. For those of you who have not served in the military, that's 24 of you, should know that that's a helicopter with guns on it that comes in low, takes fire. Both brothers perished in Vietnam, 2 years apart. Younger brother David was killed in a helicopter crash in a hostile engagement in South Vietnam. Almost a year later, Norman died in a fixed-wing aircraft accident in South Vietnam. Later, Norman's son David went on to serve in the National Guard. If you go down Klamath Falls, most of the Evanses don't live down there anymore, but the Evans family was only one of 39 families in the nation and 4 families in Oregon to lose 2 sons to combat. Now, I should mention that there's a third individual that is attached to this Senate Concurrent Resolution 19, and that's Lance Corporal Ty Hart. Only Mr. Hart, Corporal Hart, actually is in a House resolution that's coming across to our chamber. So in full today, we're recognizing the Evans family, the father's service, the death of 2 sons, and the death of Corporal Lovelace. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there further discussion? The question now arises in the third reading and final passage of SCR 19A. Those in opinion the bill shall pass will say aye, and those opposed no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Olson? Yes. Brozonsky? Aye. Riley? Aye. Roblin? Aye. Steiner Hayward? Aye. Taylor? Thatcher? Aye. Thompson? Winters? Bearsugar? Byer? Yes. Boquist? Yes. Burdick? Aye. DeBoer? Aye. Dembro? Aye. Devlin? Aye. Ferrioli? Aye. Frederick? Yes. Gelser? Yes. Gerard? Aye. Hansel? Aye. Hass? Aye. Johnson? Aye. Knope? Aye. Cruz? Aye. Linthicum? Aye. Manning? Aye. Monis Anderson? Aye. Monroe? Aye. President Courtney?
Yes.
Excused. Bearsugar? Winters? 28 aye votes.
SCR 19 have received the constitutional majority declared passed. So the most difficult job the Senate Veterans Committee has is to take the testimony which tells about the story of a loved one who has given their lives for the service of our country. I remember Jeremy Lovelace, and I remember the testimony of Norman and David Evans, and it was riveting, just riveting. And Senator Lori Monis Anderson, Senator Boquist have, I know, struggled to talk about these 3 individuals. And the only thing to say is that this is what we do to try to honor what these individuals have done. They're no longer with us. Their loved ones have to live with that loss. And we hope that through this resolution and the way they talk about them, both in front of our committee, because sometimes they'll speak for a long, long time in front of our committee. And they did in particular in this case. We hope that through their testimony for one of our official committees, as well as what happens on the floor, some way that lightens their loss that they have suffered. And so it's an honor, privilege to be on the Veterans Committee, but I got to tell you, it is, at times we don't get used to it. We never get used to it. And I always have to tell you, when you carry one of these resolutions on this floor, it can be tough. You just hope you can get through it. So thank you for your vote. And again, we've honored Oregonians who have given their lives for other Oregonians, for all of us, as well as our country. Action on executive appointments requiring Senate confirmation. Without objection, the governor's executive appointments are carried over to tomorrow's calendar. It is so ordered. Introduction and first reading of the Senate measures.
Senate Bill 1062 relating to environmental conditions in school facilities.
It's transmitted to the President's desk for referral. Second reading of Senate measures.
Senate Bill 493 relating to assault, Senate Bill 690 relating to certificates of good standing, Senate Bill 1025 relating to verifying transmission of disease and prescribing effective date.
These will be passed to the calendar. We're now under the third reading of Senate measures. The clerk will please read the bill.
Senate Bill 95 relating to reporting of suspected financial abuse.
Recognize Senator Floyd Brzezinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senate Bill 95B has come out of your Judiciary Committee on a 3-2 vote. Colleagues, what this bill is going to do is going to require certain security professionals to report suspicious financial exploitation of vulnerable persons to the Department of Consumer and Business Services. Colleagues, what we've learned through the testimony and the information we received, there are many individuals who are actually being duped by individuals, either family-related or non-family related, and that those situations do in fact require assets to be transferred from different locations. One of the areas that is not currently being protected to ensure that vulnerable people are not being taken advantage is with certain security professionals. This will in fact set up a requirement for those individuals to in fact report to the DCBS suspicious financial exploitation issues. This is an opportunity to ensure, as we have seen in the banking arena, where they independently and individually are able to track different type of expenditures and transactions that are occurring on individuals' accounts that they feel are vulnerable and have actually taken the steps of reporting it. This will in fact require this to occur with these other security personnel, and we think this is an opportunity to ensure that an individual is not being duped by some misleading individuals and taking their life savings from them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Please. Senator Brzezinski, your closing. Question now arises upon third reading and final pass Senate Bill 95B. Those opinion bills pass, say aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brzezinski, Riley, Roblin, Steiner Hayward, Taylor, Thatcher, Thompson, Winters, Bearsugar, Byer, Boquist, Burdick, DeBoer, Dembro, Devlin, Varioli, Frederick, Gelser, Gerard, Hansel, Hass, Johnson, Knope, Cruz, Linthicum, Manning, Monis Anderson, Monroe, Olson, President Courtney.
He's a yes.
Excused, Bearsugar, Winters, voting no, DeBoer, Varioli, Gerard, Hansel, Knope, Cruz, Linthicum, Thatcher, Thompson, 19 aye votes.
The Senate Bill 95B having received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 101 relating to child abuse investigations and declaring an emergency.
Recognize Senator Floyd Brzezinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senate Bill 101B came out of Judiciary on a 5-0 vote. Colleagues, what this is going to do is authorize child abuse investigations on school premises if the investigation involves interviews of a suspected victim or witnesses, but not a person suspected of the crime itself. This is an opportunity to ensure that individuals that have been either victimized or we believe are witnesses to a victimization can have direct contact with the investigating forces and ensure that their communications are not going to be somehow telegraphed or transmitted to anyone else. This is an opportunity for us to ensure that those who need assistance in seeking aid are able to have that conversation with the law enforcement or Department of Health Human Services personnel. Thank you, Mr. President.
Discussion of the measure. Senator Brzezinski, your closing. Question rises upon third reading and final pass Senate Bill 101B. Those opinion bills are passed, say aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Riley, Roblin, Steiner Hayward, Taylor, Thatcher, Thompson, Winters, Bearsugar, Byer, Boquist, Burdick, DeBoer, Dembro, Devlin, Varioli, Frederick, Gelser, Gerard, Hansel, Hass, Johnson, Knope, Cruz, Linthicum, Manning, Monis Anderson, Monroe, Olson, Brzezinski. President Courtney.
Yes.
Excused. Bearsugar. Winters. 28 aye votes.
The Senate Bill 101B, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk reads the bill.
Senate Bill 153 relating to tax reporting requirements of insurers and prescribing effective date.
Recognize Senator Mark Hass.
Senate Bill 153 is a technical bill out of the Revenue Committee. It codifies a compromise by the Department of Revenue and stakeholders in the insurance industry, and it also clarifies a decision made by the Oregon Tax Court. Current law requires insurance companies that are members of an affiliated group to file separate returns from that group, and this creates a problem when an insurance company pays its parent a dividend because now that income is double taxed. This problem has spurred a lot of recent litigation, and so this bill fixes the problem and provides clarity by allowing a parent company to deduct 100% of the income it receives from an insurance company within its affiliated group. The bill has minimal revenue impact, no fiscal impact. There was no opposition. It passed the committee unanimously, and I would urge your aye vote.
Discussion. Senator Hass, your closing. Question now rise upon third reading and final pass. Senate Bill 153A. Those opinion bills to pass, say aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Roeblen. Steiner Hayward. Taylor. Thatcher. Thompson. Winters. Bearsugar. Byer. Boquist. Burdick. DeBoer. Dembro. Devlin. Ferrioli. Frederick. Gelser. Gerard. Hansel. Hass. Johnson. Knope. Cruz. Linthicum. Manning. Modis Anderson. Monroe. Olson. Brzezinski. Riley. President Courtney. Excused. Bearsugar. Winters. 28 aye votes.
Senate Bill 153A, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 235 relating to public health.
Recognize Senator Elizabeth Steiner Hayward, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 235 is essentially a technical fix bill. In 2015, we passed a law that required people to be over the age of 18 to use electronic cigarettes or other vaping devices, and we added them to the Indoor Clean Air Act. Inadvertently, in that bill, we changed the definition of an enclosed area so that outdoor smoking porches at restaurants or bars inadvertently became included. So Senate Bill 235 fixes that problem and clarifies the definition of an enclosed area. I should note, colleagues, that one of the concerns was OHA's rulemaking process. OHA has reopened the rulemaking process, and the first meeting on this will be tomorrow, so they are indeed acting in good faith on this. And I would also note that I would hope that the affected businesses don't take advantage of the technical language in this bill, which says as long as the edges aren't floor to ceiling, and leave an opening bigger than just a few inches. So this is supposed to be a well-ventilated outdoor area, and I hope that businesses will treat it as such. This is a simple fix to allow restaurants and bars to have an outdoor smoking area, and I urge your aye vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Discussion of the measure. Senator Steiner Hayward, your closing. Question now rises upon third reading and final pass. Senate Bill 235A. Those opinion bills to pass, say aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk, please call the roll.
Steiner Hayward. Taylor. Thatcher. Thompson. Winters. Bearsugar. Byer. Boquist. Burdick. DeBoer. Dembro. Devlin. Ferrioli. Frederick. Gelser. Gerard. Hansel. Hass. Johnson. Knope. Cruz. Linthicum. Manning. Modis Anderson. Monroe. Olson. Brzezinski. Riley. Roeblen. President Courtney. Excused. Bearsugar. Winters. Voting no. Monroe. Taylor. 26 aye votes.
Senate Bill 235A, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk reads bill.
Senate Bill 268 relating to investigation of reports of child abuse.
Recognize Senator Alan Olson, please.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Here we go.
Sorry about that, Mr. President. Planning for the future when I should be paying attention to the present. Senate Bill 268 passed out of the Senate Human Services Committee on a unanimous vote. There's no fiscal impact and no revenue impact statement. Under current law, DHS has broad authority to investigate child abuse claims, and records from those investigations are generally